Good day, everyone. Chris Moffett here from Purely CRM. I'm head of sales and market development. And these are unusual times, and we thought it might be a good idea to have a bit of a conversation here with one of our founding partners, Ron, who I have with me. You know, if anything, this global pandemic has done to the business environment is really highlighted the need for people to continue to work and work from home and so forth. And of course, that puts pressure on businesses who aren't familiar with or haven't had done a lot of remote work. And, you know, cloud technology has been around for a while, but we're seeing much greater adoption. And of course, that's one of the things that can help businesses today, in particular in the times that we're in. So I thought, Ron, we'd have a quick chat about some of the opportunities for organizations to migrate to the cloud and why they should do that, and then we'll kind of cap it off. You know, talk about what we're experts in, which is Dynamics 365. But to start, the question I had for you, Ron, was what is the overall benefit of migrating business applications to the cloud?
Well, there's a few things that end up impacting it overall to make it beneficial. I mean, the main thing is you no longer have any hardware that you need to maintain. So we don't have a server room that we're having to keep cool and making sure that a part of our business continuity plan that it's got, you know, proper fire suppression controls, and that it stays at a certain temperature, and then those servers need to be upgraded every now and then. And then on top of being upgraded, you know, somebody needs to make sure that what happens if they do go down, what's the continuity process on that. You got viruses, hacking with those servers. So the big deal is most companies no longer will have to maintain their own hardware and server. That's a huge advantage of going to the cloud. I mean, when you think of the old days, Chris, every single office window that you saw when you were downtown Vancouver, where we are, every third or fourth one, there'd be an Exchange server sitting in there. And there's no longer an Exchange server sitting in every third or fourth window. There's no longer that power consumption in those offices, and a resource to maintain that. It's a huge, and it's doing it for companies whose core competence is not maintaining a server. They were not in the job. They were not in the business of maintaining a server. They had a different core competency. They were providing insurance. They were leasing vehicles. They were doing something, but whatever it is they were doing, they were not.
They weren't in the IT business. Yeah, it's funny. I was reading something the other day, a report that still indicated the biggest objection for companies to move their applications and so on to the cloud is still security, believe it or not. And I find that a little puzzling.
Right. When it's harder to maintain your own security and make sure you've met all the standards that are being provided, let's say by Sarbanes-Oxley, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act for SOX, you know, who's got security rights to get into the door to your server room? Who has the security rights to log on to the server? Where are those passwords kept? What happens if that person's not available? Who's available to get onto that server? How often is the virus protection software updated? Now you've just offloaded that entire responsibility onto somebody who can actually do it on a full-time basis and maintain it.
Right.
Take a look at, for example, Microsoft. They're meeting all those ISO standards, and you can provide that to your auditors to say for the disaster recovery plan, the DRP, and the business continuity plan, the BCP, we've ticked all of those boxes. There's no longer a need for us to maintain all those standards ourselves. Yeah, it's to me it becomes, it's no longer a logical argument because I feel much more safe knowing Microsoft is maintaining these things to those standards than to know that our own server room, which is probably nothing more than a furnace and a fire,
Yeah.
is going to keep things safe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So but we still come across quite a number, especially like we're in the CRM business. So a lot of the clients and so on that are still running their CRM applications in-house, if you will, or on premise. What are some of the other reasons why they're not, or they haven't made the jump to the cloud?
Well, a big deal in Canada would be the Freedom of Information Act in the States,
right?
And how that impacts us. So the Canadian government does limit Canadian governmental organizations. They cannot have their data residing outside of Canada. And so that has always presented a problem for us, whether it's a hospital or any other large organization. And the argument always comes up, even for, let's say, even for sports teams, where they'll say, I don't, if Johnny breaks his leg and it's going to impact the upcoming game, and we've got that information on our servers, we don't need it on a server residing in the US where they can get it and get it out to the newspapers. Things have changed now, though. Things have now changed. Microsoft has realized that the Freedom of Information Act has caused issues. And in Canada, we do have Canadian data centers. And so companies can make sure their data resides in Canada and still be in the cloud. And if you're in the EU, they have servers for the EU as well, too. So you no longer need to reside on an American server where you're concerned that the American government has access to your information should they want to take it.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, all right. So we're in a better position now than we were, which should be a bit of an incentive. So that being the case, we talked about security. We talked about,
in addition to that, though, Chris, there's another thing that a lot of, what? Look at this as a glass half full, not a glass half empty scenario. A lot of companies were keeping stuff like credit card information, or let's say social insurance number information, or any personal identifiable data, personally identifiable information, PII, they were keeping on the servers that they probably should never have been keeping in the first place. And so at least now it's forcing those companies, when they look at their data governance, to go into it with eyes wide open and to say, we were keeping this information. Why are we keeping that information? Right. Perhaps it should be a policy, a company policy, that we no longer store that information on our servers. And so, glass half full, what a great opportunity to clean up stuff that you never should have had there in the first place. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's great. Where I was headed was, what are some of the business benefits then that, if there's obviously the barriers of, security, we think that's long gone, the protection of information. So what are some of the business benefits that people can expect if they migrate? And again, we're in the CRM business, so I'll take CRM as an example. If they have a CRM application and then they move that to the cloud, what are some of the benefits that we should expect, or they should expect to get by doing that?
Well, the immediate one that I could think of would be they'll instantly have an internet-facing deployment. In the past, we called it an IFD, but when you set it up locally, your CRM, you're usually setting it up in an intranet. It's not exposed out to the web. So the only people that can access your internet are those internally inside the organization's firewalls. So the company would need, an employee would need to use a VPN or some other method of coming inside and accessing that data. Now that it's on the cloud, that data is now accessible through the web and through mobile applications. So, for example, sales. Sales now has access to the system if they're on the road. I can be a salesperson on the road, and let's say I don't have a local synchronized copy of all the client information or the opportunities. I can now log on through my mobile phone. The mobile web apps are exposed, and the system itself will automatically resize to any screen size you have anyways. So I could pull it up on my iPad. I can pull it up on my phone. I can access the system. I can enter sales opportunities on the road. I can access those contacts on the road. I can record any of my activities remotely without actually being in the office. It allows for remote workers now, where before, well, let's even take the scenario we're in right now with COVID-19 being out there, that now the employees can be working from home equally as well on the CRM system as they could if they were inside the office.
That's right. What
Not
you and
only
I
sales,
both are doing right now.
right?
So,
Exactly. So not only sales, but your customer service, your marketing team.
right.
And in addition to that, the company knowledge base is now available via a mobile app. So you got the knowledge base. So if anybody has any issues to look things up, they can be looking it up externally. You don't need to be just inside the organization. There's the benefit to me is the instant internet facing deployment.
Right.
It's now
And
available to everybody externally.
access it from anywhere, from any device, from home, from the office, from coffee
That's
shop,
right.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. So that productivity. So maybe just to wrap it up, Ron, we're
Sure.
focused on the Microsoft Dynamics platform. Dynamics 365 is their 365 is the solution. And I would just, what are your thoughts on that platform in particular, as far as some of the opportunities and benefits that companies have if they adopt it?
Well, I guess the thing I would say is it's a platform. It's not just a software product. So, and it's not just a sales system, a marketing system, or a customer service system. It's a platform that you can build on and build other software line of business applications on. The number of line of business applications that I've built, I can't even count, on things like tracking shipping vessels out in the ocean, to tracking conversations around mining operations, to managing foreign exchange transactions at a bank, and managing the assets owned by individuals in a mutual fund company. I've done so many various forms of CRM, which we used to call XRM. Dynamics is a platform. It's not just a system. It used to be in the old days, you'd extend out your ERP system, your enterprise resource planning system. But accounting and accountants, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're to stereotype, they're happy with a brown suit and a pencil protector. They never asked for their software to be sexy. And the salespeople kept asking for the contact management software to be sexy. What used to be extending out the ERP to other line of business apps, we now extend out the sales system to those other line of business apps.
Right, which is easier to do, and you're dealing with unstructured data as opposed to structured data and so on. So it makes it a lot more easier.
And it probably came about, and I'm just guessing, it's because there was more demands on the sales sides of things to be easier. The accountants were happy with things not looking as sexy. It's just line entry to do stuff. So the world pushed in CRM, became the platform that you would extend out to your other line of business applications. So what are the advantages that I see with CRM, with Dynamics? It's a platform. It's not just sales, marketing, and service. We can extend it out to your other line of business applications. It's not a lost investment. in just one area of your business. And once you start unifying the business, there's additional benefits with that too, because you can get cross-departmental efficiencies by being able to pass stuff back and forth with
Right.
a line of business application like Dynamics.
Right. Great.
So,
Okay. Well, that's.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a whole host of other reasons, but let's maybe we'll end it there today, Ron. That's
Okay.
great. I'm glad we were able to have the discussion, and just like to say on behalf of Purely CRM, I'm Chris Moffett, and with Ron here, one of the founding partners, and hopefully we'll get to see you again soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.